Welcome back to Level Headed Gamer. My name is Joseph. Today, we're going to talk about Outriders. I'm going to give you 7 tips for the game that are going to be useful in the demo to some extent, in the final game, and of course in the end game. This is going to kind of prepare you to create the best build in the game that you're able to do. And if you enjoy this content, guys, make sure to subscribe down below. But without any further ado, let's get right into the video. Tip number 1. Try not to hoard items unless they're being used. Dismantling is one of the biggest mechanics in this game because you're going to be gaining mods as well as resources that are going to be very important for the end game when the activities get really difficult like the expeditions. Developers themselves actually had to adjust the game in playtesting to encourage this kind of behavior because our natural instinct was to keep everything we had in case it was going to be useful for later on. At level cap, I think it makes more sense to start hoarding because you're going to start encountering a lot bigger challenges and you start getting better rolls for your weapons overall. But I think in the campaign, at least until you get to the end game, it makes not as much sense, so to say. Tip number 2 kind of relates to number 1 as well. Try your best not to spend any resources you've gathered until at least you reach level cap. The reason I say that is after you beat the main campaign, I believe expeditions is where gear optimization is really going to come into play. It's going to be those really difficult challenges we're going to try to beat. You want to accumulate as many shards, gold, titanium, iron, leather, and scraps as you can because I'm sure to max out your armor or weapons is going to be quite expensive. And you don't want to be in a position where you have to grind endlessly just to upgrade one item. Get a head start right away by accumulating as much as you can, and that includes exploring to get extra resources in the levels. Tip number 3. From the very beginning, start paying attention to your mod, skill, and gun synergy as much as you can as you keep getting new gear. A completely mismatched armor with a high armor rating will not be as useful as a slightly weaker armor but with favorable mods. And sometimes these mods can make you completely OP even at a lower level, like giving you a second temporal slice or a longer, for example, slow trap or whatever it may be that might be much more useful than just more armor or more health. Tip number 4. Now I'm basing this on every other looter shooter in existence, and that running through the campaign most likely won't leave you at level cap. So what I would say is make sure you do as many side quests along the way as you can to reach that cap quicker. Not to mention you'll most likely gain higher tiered loot for doing those side quests, which you can then dismantle for the higher rarity resources like titanium. Tip number 5. Now I know this is going to sound like an obvious point to many, but experiment with your abilities and your skill tree points. Better than anyone else telling you, do some experimentation, see what kind of synergies can you create. That'll give you a better understanding of your character's strengths and weaknesses and what kind of playstyle you truly favor. Don't be married to one playstyle. Even in the demo you can start experimenting and with various resources where you can plot out your skill tree points, and in a real game you kind of can do that right then and there. But it's highly encouraged by the fact that resetting your skill trees is not going to cost anything. And not to mention when you have all these abilities, as you get new armors with new mods, you should really experiment and see what kind of combinations you can create and what works. Tip number 6. Now this point is just my prediction and I can't be wrong here, but check stores for items, whether it's guns or armor, to find mods that you currently do not have so you can buy it and then dismantle it and have that mod in your arsenal, because it's sometimes maybe difficult to find it out in the world. You want to have it right away when you get the first chance. Tip number 7. Remember, once you get a mod, you do not need to go farm it endlessly to get a couple of them, because once you get a mod in this game, it becomes part of your collection. As long as you have the resources to set it into your gear, you'll have it forever. You don't have to worry about it unless you find like a higher tier version of it, if that's a thing in this game overall. Now I got a bonus tip, tip number 8, and that don't dismantle every single gun. Let's say if you got some armor and guns you already have mods for, consider that sometimes selling is also a really good option because it's going to be probably the fastest way to get scrap in this game. Again, that we can use that resource to either buy items that we need or to upgrade some of the items we'll need scrap and other resources for. So keep it in mind, sometimes selling is better than just dismantling every single thing, but for the most part I think dismantling will be with a bigger one. But these are my 7 tips plus the bonus on what I think will be useful in the final game. Hopefully you enjoyed that and you found it useful. And if you did, make sure to subscribe down below because I'm going to be posting a lot of Outriders content, especially when the game comes out. I think I'm solely going to focus on Outriders and Monster Hunter Rise. But I hope you guys are enjoying the rest of your day. Peace out.